Hi, welcome to another video. For this week, I am doing a recreation of an illustration by the incredible artist and designer Ollie Moose. Probably you've seen this image along the internet. It's a very popular wallpaper, very minimalistic, there are different options, and I believe it's from this game called Firewatch, but maybe I am wrong on that one. However, it's like a very powerful image, it's very iconic, so I wanted to recreate it in 3D using Blender, of course. So here I started creating like the actual Firewatch tower. I added a human for scale because at the beginning I was just like modeling whatever size, but if you want to get like realistic depth of field with the camera, realistic atmospherics and different effects, it's good to be working like on actual one-to-one scale. So I am just creating different cubes, stretching them, scaling them, rotating. I created a pyramid and I am using the array modifier to create these beams for the roof and the base. And the thing is that probably from a distance on the final image you won't be able to see them, but they keep adding up to the image. They give you a sense of structure and detail that actually helps the final image, even though it's gonna be like kind of setting the shadows and it will have like lots of atmospherics and stuff. It's better to have the detail in there sometimes, so it keeps adding up. So here I am using like a mirror modifier, to create the different beams, and then I just was like duplicating. It was kind of hard to actually get this structure, and that's probably because of my lame modeling skills. There's probably like a better way to do this, and looking back at it, it's probably like a better way to add an empty in the middle or at the center of the tower, and then just like mirror it on two axes like X and Y axis to have the mirror properly on all four sides of the tower. So by now I know I have to start creating the terrain, and I am using the A&T landscape, which I have previously mentioned in another video. This video was recorded previous to using Gaia. So the A&T landscape is pretty useful actually. It's the thing that I was using before I started using Gaia, and I just scaled it, played a little bit with noise, different variations of it, and then I created another A&T landscape actually. And for that I just like duplicate it, or actually instance it, and create my background mountains. Here I am using a weight painting to create just like a culling of the camera, just so the scene isn't as heavy, because I am scattering kind of very detailed trees that have a decent amount of polygons, and I am using geometry nodes for this. So the geometry node setup is the easiest and simplest one that you can find. It's just like an instance on points and points, create points on surface or something like that, it's called a node, and then it's points to instance, and then I am plugging the collection of the botanic add-on, which has the trees, to that, and I am adding two random value nodes to that. One is on vector and one is on float. The float is controlling the scale, and the vector is controlling the rotation of the trees. So here I changed the display mode of the trees, just changed it to bounding box so I can have a better performance on the viewport. And now I am just adding textures again from this add-on called Materialic. It's from the same guys that created Botanic. I guess that's the thing, right? Because the company is called Polygonic. Anyways, so here I started creating like the mood of the picture. I think my favorite image from Olimos is the sunset one. So I am experimenting with another add-on called Physical Sky and Atmosphere, but I didn't end up liking it, so I just got rid of that and used the Nishita Sky that comes with Blender, and that's what you're gonna see me do in a little bit. The textures that I used are very simple, again from the Materialic add-on, and it's just like repeating all over the three mountains. And yeah, I am here playing with the mood. At some point I wanted to create like the what's it called, the night version, or maybe like the sunny version, but I again went just for the sunset version. I added some lighting to the watchtower, and I created a plane which has like a glass material, which is just like a principal BSDF with transparency turned on. Here I am using again that technique of creating a box and then assigning a volume scatter shader to that box to create some atmosphere. And then I am playing with the Nishita Sky right now and trying to place the sun like in a position where it's similar to the original illustration. And I am playing with the height of it, the other values that are air and the ozone and dust, playing with those just to get the proper mood for this image. So I felt I needed more depth in the image, so I just like duplicated again my background mountains, which is basically instancing them again, and I was like playing with the compositor nodes to get some lens flare or something, but it was like pretty annoying because of the intensity of the Nishita sun sky. Then I started playing with the seed on the geometry node setup to get like a better composition of the trees, and then I felt I needed like some more subdivision to the mountains to get a little bit more detail from the A&T landscape. So here I am repositioning my terrain because I felt like the scale was off. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I was talking about working on a scale 1:1 to real life. So yeah, my scale was off, so I had to rebuild it. And here I'm just like quickly texturing the tower. It's like very simple, quick automatic unwrap, and just like throw in like a random texture. It doesn't matter that much because the tower is going to be so far away that we don't really see any detail like from the specular and any of that stuff. Here I'm just changing the mapping of the textures of the terrain just so that it repeats and the scale is better, but again in the end we are not seeing that very much in the final image. Here I am combining two textures because sometimes the scale, the repeating pattern is very obvious. So one neat trick that I found is create a mix shader to mix two textures, one that is like tiling and one that is just like a regular different texture. In this case it's just like a rock texture, and then you are using a noise texture as a mask to tell Blender where do you want to rebuild the grass and where do you want to rebuild the rock. So yeah, it's the same trick that we use for the snow on the Gaia video, the one from last week. And yeah, it works pretty well on most occasions. It's just like a quick and dirty way to texture a large plane, and you don't want to show the tiling of the texture. It's a nice trick just to break the textures a bit, and it's a technique that I use very often. Yeah, so here I am creating the smoke that is coming like from the watchtower, just to make it look like it's an actual place that is being lived in, tell a little bit more of a story. And I can't remember if the actual illustration from Olimos has smoke coming out from the watchtower. Probably does, but I am very lazy, so I just sculpted the basic shape using the blob brush and the snake hook brush, and yeah, mostly the blob brush to create a shape that looks kind of like smoke coming out of the watchtower. And then I am using a VDV filter. So you basically create an empty VDV object and select one of the filters, and you have an option to create a volume from mesh. So that's what I use, and then you can add some displacement to it so it's a little bit more detailed with a higher frequency detail. So here again I am rendering. Sorry for not recording the actual rendering image window, but that's what's happening here. Just rendering different layers, exporting different layers for a later use in Photoshop. And that's why you see the mouse going crazy on the right there, because I'm just like selecting the different render passes. And here I am now in Photoshop, where I'm just compositing everything, playing with the colors and trying to match it to the original illustration vibe. And I had again an ambient occlusion pass, I have a mist pass and my beauty pass in my environment pass, which is just the sky. And now I am adding an actual photographic sky from like a reference and playing with the blending mode to just reveal the clouds. I tried to replace the full sky, just have like the photo as a background, but it wasn't working. So I started playing with different options and even lowering the opacity to have something that was in there, kind of photographic but not as distracting. Just trying to keep it simple, similar to the actual illustration. And then, since I wasn't able to create a lens flare with the compositor in Blender, I added some lens flare elements that I have like from, I think those are from photobash.org or something, and just adding them on top on a screen mode layer to create some photographic sense to the rendering. Now I felt I needed more detail in the background, so that's why I'm using these Yosemite photos as an overlay to add some more detail in the background. Even though it's like way back and covered with atmospherics, it's good to have something in there just to add up to the image, especially to our main center mountain, which really was lacking detail from the rendering. And now I am doing some color correction, adding some bloom effects to the lights, and just some more separation of the planes. And finally I'm gonna do some color correcting and color balancing to match the vibe of the original illustration. But by this point the image is almost done, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Here I'm just breaking up a little bit more the mountain, the silhouette, because it was looking like very CG, like very polygon and 3D. But yeah, here's the final balance of the image, and hope you like this one. Again, I am back on track to publishing videos every week, so stay tuned. Please consider subscribing, leave a comment, and share with your friends who want to learn Blender. And yeah, see you on the next one. Have a nice week, guys. Bye.